as many of you know, I bought a new Ariens snowblower last fall that turned out to be a total piece of junk. It was purchased to replace a old 1960s model that I had used for years with not one problem at all. And if you followed all the videos and stuff, you could see that Ariens basically would do nothing to back this snowblower. And even when I talked to the president of the company, he said those old snowblowers like I had were so good that they called them a snorkel because they would go through anything, where these new ones just won't. You can see here's like one of the videos of it. It just goes into a bank and it stops. It's like hitting a brick wall and it just can't handle the snow. So time to replace it. Ariens tried sending me out a Rapid Track one to use for a while, but that one turned out to be no good for use in gravel either. It would just, when you locked it down, it would just dig into the gravel and stop going. So fast forward to today. I was all ready to buy a Honda snowblower. After watching my videos, I saw comments and got emails from, well over 50 people that saw that were ready to buy an Ariens, but saw my videos and they decided to buy a Honda instead. And basically every single one of them was really super happy with the machines that they got, and they all worked well. So I pretty much had made up my mind it was going to be a Honda. But then last fall I went to the Empire Farm Days. It's a big farm show in the area here, and walking around I saw a company by the name of Woodmaxx that made snowblowers. And actually it's a whole different type of snowblower. It's a PTO unit for the back of a tractor. After talking to him for a while, I found out that the company Woodmaxx is actually started by a veteran, and all the engineering was actually done by him in Buffalo, New York, when the company started out. And they know how to make snowblowers to actually handle snow that we get in this area. And I told him the story about Ariens also, and how I got stuck with that Ariens machine and they wanted nothing to do with it. And he said, don't worry. He couldn't believe it. He said, we're a small company and we stand behind everything that we sell. So, should problems arise, we'll be right there for you. And basically they said they never had a problem before with any of these machines. So, I kind of decided that I was going to take a chance and change directions and go with one of these PTO units. And I actually ordered it at the Farm Day show there. They did give a discount for doing that. So in the end, it cost about the exact same as what the Ariens Platinum cost me that I'm still trying to sell now. And I was just really impressed looking at the one they had there by the quality of the construction, the materials used, and just the way everything was put together and greasable and serviceable. And it was really reasonably priced. Now, I guess all of these are actually engineered in Buffalo, New York, and they are fabricated in China. But looking at the quality of the units, it looks just like it was made in the USA. So I have, no doubts that it'll stand up and last. Now, the one that I ordered was actually a SB48 model that they have, and it's a 48-inch wide one that is actually a perfect fit for my little Kubota. It's just a couple inches wider than the wheelbase on that, and it's rated for the proper horsepower, so I think it's going to be a good combination. So anyhow, you can see the truck pulled up about a week ago, and I was able to unload it with those Titan pallet forks that I bought. Now this actually was a little scary for me because the pallet itself with the snowblower on it was just about 700 pounds. And my tractor is only supposed to pick up 800 pounds at the pin and maybe about 500 pounds out that far in the pallet fork. So I'm a little worried it might have a problem, but in the end actually it really did handle it nice. And you'll see in a little while further in the video that I did put a little bit of extra weight in the box in the back just to keep the back wheels on the ground. But so there it is, all unloaded. And I must say those pallet forks really do come in handy for when you order a piece of something that's delivered on a truck. And I'm just coming slowly down the driveway now because I don't want to take any chances of hitting a bump or anything. And the pallet's just exactly 4 feet wide, like the forks are long, so it's a really tight fit. But all in all, the unit only came from Buffalo, so it was only about a 3-hour trip away for it. So you know, it shipped out quickly, and it came very quickly, and you can pretty much see here that the crate's actually in perfect condition with no damage whatsoever. And I had the most wonderful truck driver also that delivered it. So this video is basically about the delivery, as you can see there, and putting it together. And there you can see the weight box on my tractor. I had that full of rocks. I threw all the chains I had, pieces of metal, and a couple extra weights on top to keep everything stable. And well, there it is. It was really packed well. You know, it didn't make a trip from China, and there was no real signs of damage or anything. And they had packed it with a really nice heavy-duty angle iron crate around it to protect it. So you know, first thing I did is I just ripped off all the plastic on there, and everything was in there pretty well secured. And you know, you can just see the thickness of the metal used throughout on this, and you know, just the quality of welds and construction. So the first thing was to get some of this stuff loose that was in the pallet there to kind of lighten it up a little bit and make it so I could unpack the blower. They did have the boxes, you know, all the parts strapped in, and they were easily accessible and protected by that pallet. So there's the first one that had some of the loose parts in it. And then strapped on the other side with some giant tie wraps, they actually had the discharge chute, which really turned to be into really just an amazing job that they did on this chute. One thing I can pretty much guarantee you, this thing will never plug the way that the size of it and the way that they built it. So there goes the chute. I'm guessing that this chute probably weighs at least 50-60 pounds by itself. There must have been almost as much steel in this chute as there was in the whole Ariens blower. So, you know, there you can see that was packed well and, you know, well protected. So it, you know, had no problems. And here's some stuff that was in the box. It's a little adjuster for the chute, and actually a rotator for the chute. Now, I went with the manual options for now, just to make sure that, you know, I like it and everything works good before I go to any of the automated options on it. And then it also came with this little scoop for, I guess it's for unplugging it if you have a problem. And they did throw in some extra shear bolts for it, should you need them. And there's a shear bolt in the driveline and also a shear bolt in the auger. So, you know, it's double protected against issues. So now just kind of strapped in the front of it, you can see there's a couple more pieces. One of them is the rotating handle, and the other one is actually the PTO driveline. Now this one actually I got the just a lower cost Chinese PTO shaft with it, which really doesn't. I mean, it looks just like a, you know, a well-made one and stuff, so I'm not really worried about it. Now I went over it real good, and the only little bit of damage I could find in the paint was that little scuff mark up on the top and this little scratch in the bottom where the, you know, the chute rotator had hit it. But otherwise it's just, you know, kind of a flawless build job. And it did come in, you know, a nice crate there that was made out of angle iron, which I'm sure will be used in another project in the future. But they did have the one side of it so you could remove several bolts and take off that horizontal top rail there, and also remove a couple more bolts, and you could pull out those the two vertical pieces there that supported the hitch pins. And it's funny, I didn't really think I would go with a PTO type blower in the end, but I was just kind of so impressed with the company and the you know, the quality of all the machines that they built and stuff like that. So I really wanted to give a local company a chance and give them the sale. So this is the way that I'm headed now. So I got everything, you know, pretty much removed, all the extra parts removed from the crate and those rails removed, and then I was able to pack my little BX tractor up there and get the pins and stuff lined up, and hook that up to the 3-point hitch for the final, you know, removing it from the crate. Now this is the snowblower itself, I guess, weighs 529 pounds, so it, you know, is a fairly hefty piece of steel, and I'm sure I won't have any problems with this lifting up in the snow or anything else. Plus, it's got features that are designed to be used in gravel also, that I'll show you later. that I think are really going to make it a great working machine. Here in the near future, I should be making a couple more videos about this also. I'm actually going to, right now I'm planning on building like a Lexan shield to wrap around the back of my Kubota, and also adding some LED lighting and stuff like that to make it easier to use. And I'm really thinking about some rear view mirrors and a backup cam, so I don't have to twist my head quite so far, so often. So and there it is, goes right up. Kubota picks it right up, no problems. Right now I've got the mower deck on there, so that's really kind of helping, but in the future I'm going to use that front hitch plate and add a little bit more weight on there. And I figure eventually I'm just going to put a little plow on the front for cleaning up the light stuff. So, it's a matter of just picking that snowblower up, and then just I was able to slide that angle iron frame out of there and release it with real easily. And there you can see it came in like a paint that pretty much matches the Kubota orange perfectly, and fits on there real nice, and it actually rides real nice on there. So here we are down in the shop to start the assembly of it, and they provided a really excellent, easy to read manual that was made in America. Everything is well explained and great pictures to show you. So first thing you have to do is add put the chute in place, the discharge chute, and there are two plates there that are bolted on with slots, and you just loosen the bolts up and you slide the plates back, and you can see there are four bearing assemblies that center the chute on it, and there's the thrower blade in there, and you can see that's like 5/16 steel. This thing is just made amazingly heavy duty. But once you loosen them up and you pull them back, you just have to fiddle a little bit until it drops in place. And there's a half round on the base of that discharge chute that locks right in those bearings that you see there. And the whole thing rotates very smoothly on it. So first thing you do is you kind of wiggle it in place a little bit till you get it where you want it. And then just slide those plates in and start tightening up the bolts a little bit. And I fiddled with them a couple times until I got a real smooth movement. And, because there were a couple spots where at first I had it too tight and it would stop. And then this is the turning mechanism for it. Now, you can get electric actuators and hydraulic actuators also, but I went with this, and I figure in the future I'll probably automate it. So this was it's a really nice heavy duty gearbox that locks in there, and actually there's a rod that comes out and goes up to the tractor. There it is right there. And once you get that all adjusted, you start all the bolts, and I just tapped it around till I got a very smooth movement. Play with it a little bit and get the backlash out and get it a real smooth movement, and then just went back and finally just tightened everything up. And it's really easy to turn that lever. Now that's going to be mounted on the tractor in the future. I did not do it at this moment. Then there's a lock for the chute adjustment for the elevation of it. So that was a real easy to assemble thing. You just had to put some spacers in, and all the hardware was there, and everything went together, everything lined up and went together smoothly. So I have no complaints about anything so far. So you can see this is really just a heavy steel assembly for adjusting that top part of the chute. Now these 3-point snowblowers don't throw snow as far as the like the Ariens Type 2. I mean, the Ariens threw it 65 feet, and all that really turned into was a big snowstorm coming back at you if there was any wind. Or these guys will only throw it probably about 30 feet. I think they say 35 feet. But by not throwing it that far up in the air and that far out, I think there'll be a lot less dust coming back when I'm using it. So I think it'll be a lot easier to use in the conditions that I'm in. So, there's how that works, and I just had to snug up those bolts there. And then there was the chain adjustment they tell you to make. I double-checked it, and the chain actually was adjusted perfectly from the factory. And you can see that's like a big number 60 chain driving the driving the blower assembly there. And then once everything's pretty much together, it was time to go back and just follow the instructions and add grease to all the points that they told you to. There's the one here on this cross shaft, and then there were a couple more on the sides of the blower. Yeah, there's the one there, and then there were two on the front, one on each side of the auger shaft, right there. Now, someday I'm going to get one of those lock and load couplers, or whatever they call it, that release, because for some reason my grease gun couplers always lock on, and they're kind of a bear to pull off. Then they said to put oil on the chain. Now, they said use barn chain oil on it, but I've got some synthetic motorcycle chain oil that I used to use on my motorcycle, so I really like how this stuff works and sticks and not affected by cold weather or anything. So I decided to use that instead. And this is really a super high-grade lubricant for chains. So, you know, it should work out good in the winter. But you can see that big chain there drives the auger. And everything is just super heavy-duty on this unit. It's really made to last. And I just took the grease gun and one of the little tips on it and started to grease that little raised area that it pivots on to make everything, you know, go nice and smooth and stuff. So I went right around the whole outside edge of it there. So there it is. There you can see, you know, everything's ready to go. And that bar across the front there that you looked at really gets flipped for use in gravel. And I have to adjust these feet, which you can see they're about 6 inches square and, you know, plenty big for working in gravel. So I think it's really going to be a good for me. Now, before you use it, you have to fill the gearbox with 80-90 gear oil. And I took the plug out there, and then I realized that I really couldn't get to the little plug in the front you have to take out to tell when it's full. So I wound up pulling this cover, and you know, the bolts actually go into the gearbox, so you want to put some silicone on it when you put it back together. But, you know, there's that plug in the front, and when the oil comes out of there, the gearbox is full. So it said you needed a quart of 80-90 gear oil for it, so I had some of this Tractor Supply oil that I use and everything, and I put the first quart in, and still there was nothing coming out of that little vent hole in the front. You know, I just kind of kept watching it, but nothing was coming out, so I got out another quart and put in I don't know, maybe another half cup or so of this next quart, maybe a little bit more. And then it just started to, you know, you can see it there. That right there indicates that it's full, and that's when you just put the plug back in, and you know, everything's full and ready to go. And it's one step that you just don't want to forget when you're dealing with something like this. Then the PTO shaft, it comes with good instructions for cutting it down, and it turned out that it was really a little bit long for my tractor. And I started out just kind of trying to get an idea with it on the ground. Then I raised the two shafts up to be in alignment to get the, you know, the final dimensions and stuff. And I took it in the shop and used that Northern Hydraulics or Northern Tool cold cut saw to cut off the shafts. Now this, I'm surprised because the blade on this, shortly after I got it and I started using it, one of the teeth, the carbide teeth, actually chipped off the blade, or just flew off the blade, I think. And you can see there, it still cuts, but it's given a little bit of a rough cut now. You know, and that happened right after I got it, so I'm not sure if these blades are really that good or not. But anyhow, it still cuts, and I'm still using it, and I really don't want to spend $100 on another blade as long as it works. So I cut both of those shafts, and before cutting them, I actually stuffed a piece of paper towel down in there just to make it so that the chips wouldn't get down in there, and because there was some, you know, a little bit of grease and stuff on the inside and the outside of these. I took a file and just, you know, scraped off the burrs and stuff, and got it. So you can see there, it's basically the perfect length. Then I went back and I marked off the outer shield, and I used that Evolution saw for cutting plastic because that saw just cuts the plastic so nice. that other saw, just doesn't cut it right, and it grabs it a little bit and stuff. So this Evolution saw, I think, really is, this is really a great little saw to have around. So that trimmed up the, that guard there, and it's a matter of getting that all back in place. And you can kind of see there's like a nylon bearing that it spins on there that locks in, and then a safety shield that goes over the whole thing when it's put together. And this is something that you really want to have on a PTO shaft, so that you just can't get caught on it and wrapped up and just pulled into it like some people have. So basically figuring out and cutting this how-to and cutting this PTO shaft took about the longest of anything. And there you can see it's properly in place with the shields in place and the chains on to keep it from spinning. So now it's time to just give it a little fire up and just see how it runs. And basically you can see it really does run nice and quiet. I was pretty amazed. There's no rattles or shakes, and everything runs true on it. And you can almost feel the air blowing out of the top there. You can see they put a nice polyethylene liner in that chute there to make it last longer and stuff. And so all in all, I think it's really going to be a great machine. I mean, we'll see once the snow hits the ground and I put it up against the snow. But this one here, you can actually use a 3-point hitch to pick it up to a couple feet above the ground just to start on the big banks and stuff too. So it really should do a good job. And there's not going to be any problem with it riding up on the snow or anything. So I think it's gonna work out good. And as I said, I'll be doing some follow-up videos with some lighting and a shield for the the operator seat. So it wound up, I had 2 of those Harbor Freight little dollies laying around, and actually they wound up being the perfect storage for it. And now I can just roll it around my shop and get it out of the way for now. So in the end, it looks like this snowblower is really engineered to handle a fairly decent amount of snow, and it was engineered to handle the snow that we get in our area. So I'm glad that I really did take a chance on it. Now I can't wait for the first couple drifts to get a chance to get out there and test it out. Plus, from talking with the people at Woodmaxx, I know that they're a small company that's going to stand behind their product 100%. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.